Yep.
So I am so grateful to you, Linda and Brooke, for being so willing to participate in our community Zoom today. I have heard some of your testimonials already, and believe me, I was aghast. I just have never anticipated that there would be such incredible healings and so immediate as well. And it's definitely worth sharing. And thanks to Rich and Nan, you were introduced to me through them, and they've continued to make an incredible contribution to our team as well. And for all of you, Linda is an intuitive. She is a therapist, and she's also a nurse. So she has a really neat background in understanding human nature and illnesses as well. And both she and Brooke have had incredibly remarkable healings through the patches. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to you, Linda.
Okay. Where do you want me to start? This is such a
Wherever
story.
you're comfortable.
Where to start?
Well, you know, maybe you want to start where you were on your deathbed and Nan met you and introduced you to the patches, and then the turnaround that happened. That's a good start.
About 20 to 25 years ago, I met Nan. She came to me trying to make a decision on moving from Colorado to South Carolina or North Carolina, wherever she was going to go. And I loved her. I loved her dearly. And she came to me 2 or 3 times, and then she was gone, and I didn't hear from her. Maybe I did once or twice, but I don't remember that. And so many years later, I get this phone call or this message. Would you have time to do a little counseling session with me? We're trying to make a decision. And I said, of course. So I had this strange feeling that this was not what Nan wanted. And so I was waiting. I told my husband, I said, Nan wants something besides counseling. She has something up her sleeve. She wants to sell me something, and I don't want to buy anything. And so she gets on the phone and she goes through her counseling session with me, which we just visit. That's my counseling. I just visit with you. And at the end of it, we have our good results. And so at the end, she said, I want to introduce you to something. So here it comes. I've been waiting for 1 hour to hear what this was. And she said, I have a new product that I'd like to see you try. And I said, Nan, I'm just not doing well. I don't want to try any new products. I'm refusing everything. I'm using essential oils and God. And she did know through Facebook what all had happened to me. There are so many things I don't even know where to start, but we'll start with the probably the rheumatoid arthritis. And I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis about a year or so before we had this car crash. Now there's more to this story, but I'm going to just go here because this takes too long to go through the whole thing of what's going on in my body. So when I was diagnosed with the rheumatoid arthritis, I decided against any medications. I was going to do this with essential oils, diet, exercise, anything that I could do, but no medications. And my doctors know me well, so they know not to medicate me. I'm not going to do it. And so a few months or a year or so after I was diagnosed, Brooke and I were going to go car shopping. And on our way to car shopping, ironically enough, we were broadsided by a red light runner. And when she hit us, she was probably going, I'm going to say 50 miles or so. And it was a pretty severe crash, especially for me, as the seatbelt. I'm about the size of a 12-year-old. And you know, they say on your seatbelt, the little thing up there, if you're 12 years old, don't be up in the front seat. Well, So the seatbelt crushed me, totally crushed me. I left my body when the accident happened. I left my body. I thought I had died. I remember flying through the air, going to God, and there was this gold wall, and I couldn't, it wouldn't open. There wasn't an opening for me to go through. And so I felt nothing. I heard nothing. It was just beautiful. It was the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard. Nothing, silence. And I wasn't feeling any pain. And then I couldn't get in this wall. So I start tumbling back down into my body. And when I get into my body, I can't say a word. I can't move. I thought that I'm dying. I knew I was dying because I could feel when the accident happened, I could feel as it ripped my body. I could feel my ribs breaking. First it hit my hip and I went, oh, there goes my hip. And then I'm thinking rationally all this time, oh, there goes my stomach. Oh, it just broke a rib. Oh, there goes my middle back. Now it broke my neck. And I'm thinking all of this. And so when I get back into my body, there was some hot, wet liquid coming out of me. And I felt like that was blood. I thought I was dying. And that was it. So anyway, we go to the hospital in an ambulance. I don't remember any of this. And when we get to the hospital, I remember bits and pieces. And they never checked me over. They did one thing. They did a neck x-ray because I thought my neck was broken. They never took my clothes off. They never checked me. They never touched me. No one touched me. And I'm telling them there's something horribly wrong with my stomach. It's in my stomach and I couldn't even speak. I was just sobbing. Please help me. It's in my stomach. It's ripped. And my ribs are broken. No x-rays, no anything. So I was shocked when the doctor came in and said, which isn't funny to me, I have some good news and some bad news. And I don't find that a joke when you're feeling like you're dying. And I said, just give it to me. What is it? And he said, and I could barely talk because my teeth were chattering so bad. And he said, you have torn tissue, what was it? Stomach tissue or something, soft tissue tear. And this will probably last you for months or could be years and it may never go away, but that's all that's wrong with you. But how did you know that? Because you never tested me for anything. So we go home and again, I'll make this story short, but we go home, I'm bedridden. I can't get out of bed. Now I have internal bleeding. I'm in the hospital. Can't find a thing, but no testing, no x-rays. The only x-ray they did was a MRI for my brain and found 2 brain aneurysms and no stomach x-ray, nothing, because they said it was soft tissue tear. Everywhere I went, it was soft tissue tear. Well, it didn't get any better. It continuously got worse. And I have a friend that's a doctor. Ironically enough, I met him about 30 years ago through a friend, through his wife that came to a lecture of mine in Colorado. And she came to the lecture and she loved what she heard. So she became a client of mine. She needed some counseling pretty bad. And then she told him about me and he called me and he was in the middle of deciding whether he wanted to be an engineer or a doctor. And I said, oh, you must be a doctor because one day you're going to save my life. And this was the doctor that saved my life.
Wow.
And so she knew that I was progressively getting worse, laying in the bed day after day, unable to get up.
Losing weight.
And she, so she talked to her husband about it. And he said, I want to talk to her on the phone. So she asked me if I would, and I said yes. And they called me And he said, I know what's wrong with you. I really believe I know what's wrong with you. Will you please come to Oxford, Mississippi? So I did. We went to Oxford, Mississippi. And this was after about 6 months of laying in the bed, unable to even go to the bathroom by myself. I couldn't eat. Nothing stayed down. Couldn't find where I was bleeding from. Didn't really look. Wouldn't advise Houston hospitals. And so when I got to Oxford, he ran some tests and he said, there's some tears, and I cleaned them up. You know, they put this tube down your throat, and he said, I cleaned them up, and he didn't find what was wrong, except for that. Sent me home. I got progressively worse, lost weight, still couldn't move, couldn't do anything. Called me back, asked me if I'd come back to Oxford. He must have missed something. So I did. We went back to Oxford. And this time they put this tube down my nose and found out that I had achalasia. But only he didn't know how bad I had it. And he said that it happens sometimes when a seatbelt is too tight and it ripped my stomach and my esophagus. But they didn't know how bad it was. So he treated that, gave me 3 surgeries in 1 week. And then he sent us back home. We took a trip that same week. We drove from Oxford to Las Cruces, New Mexico, where we were living at the time, on to Denver, Colorado for my 70th birthday party that my daughter was giving us. And I was so sick, I couldn't do the party. I saw them about maybe an hour, and there were over 200 people in that room. And I just was able to say, I love you, and I have to go to bed. And so I did that, and progressively got worse. Go back to Oxford, Mississippi. And this time he said, they did the test again. And he said, this is critical. That's life or death. And you may have about a day or 2 to live. You have to have surgery. Then you can tell part of this story because I'm just nervous and I'm getting it all wrong. But
when they did the I think it's a barium test, when they put the liquid in
no, that was not a barium I took.
there, her esophagus was supposed to enter her stomach was like an 1/8 of an inch opening was all. And they couldn't believe that Linda was still alive. She had pneumonia at the time we went back up there, and they said, we don't normally operate on anyone in your condition, but it's life or death right now. So they did operate. And when they got inside, they found out over the period of time, because of the constriction, that a lot of the bottom part of her esophagus had been eaten up by these chemicals or things that had just stopped in her esophagus without going into her stomach. So they found out they had to remove some of that and take soft tissue from her ribs to do the repair work. And they finally wrapped her stomach, and they said this is an operation of 1 in like, what, 300,000 or something like that.
But only 3 had lived. What they finally ended up doing to me, only 3 had lived. So that's just one part of my story. So I came home, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. I came home preparing to die because it just wasn't, I knew I wasn't going to make it. So I was preparing to die, and I have a great relationship with God, so I was willing to do that. Then here comes Nan. And Nan just doesn't know what she did for us, because what was to happen after that, what made the achalasia surgery look easy. So Nan said, I want you, would you accept it if I send you 3 patches? And I said, yes, I will do that. I will respect that. I will try these 3 patches. But I tried everything and nothing had worked. So I wasn't going to doctors. I wasn't going to do anything. I was just going to wait to die, and was kind of looking forward to it because it was a living hell. So in the meantime, we'd made plans to go to see my daughter, and I wanted to see her new house before I left the earth, but I didn't tell her why I was coming. But Nan had sent me the patches. So on the way, I put one of them on. Oh my God.
Well, the first patch is when you were sitting here talking to your group.
But the excitement I felt, and that's when I get confused, is when you start refreshing the patch. I could see the difference in 5 minutes, if that makes any sense to you.
Mhm.
I felt it.
I was in the kitchen cleaning up. We just had breakfast, and I had pretty much accepted the fact that that I was going to lose my wife, and we were kind of making preparations for that. And naturally, we're both pretty down. Well, Linda was talking to her group on her video, and they've seen her go downhill through this period of time, and she'd put on one of these patches, and I didn't know it at the time. And I'm looking over at Linda, and all of a sudden I'm astounded. I see her blue eyes again. I see her smiling and laughing, and her whole group saw this. And I Linda, what happened? She said, well, Nan sent me these patches, and I tried one. And I mean, it was like immediate. And all of a sudden I had my Linda back. And we were, like she said, we was getting ready to make a trip to Florida. But everybody on the group saw the incredible improvement in Linda. And they all wanted to know what happened. So she kind of explained it. And then everybody wanted to,
Well, not quite yet.
everybody got interested. And that's how she got me going on it. But
We jumped ahead a little on that because we only had 3 patches. So I could see right away I wanted to try a whole pack. So I asked Nan how to do that. She gave us the instructions and we did it. We joined and ordered some patches. So now we have them in the house. Here's when it gets interesting. Thank goodness we had them in the house, because it's going to be my first Christmas in 7 years that I feel like doing anything.
But prior to the patches, just prior to them, Linda came to me while we were anticipating her not being here much longer, and said, honey, I'm sorry. She says, I can't do Christmas this year. I says, I just can't do it. And she says, if you want to put up a tree, you can, but she says, I just can't do it. And every year we've had the house all decorated fabulous. And I said, I understood. Well, after the patches, that Christmas, we ended up with 10 Christmas trees. It was just amazing, the change. No, you want to tell her what happened with us?
Well, getting ready for Christmas, this is when we found out what the patches were really made of and what they really were, even though I'd already pretty much figured it out, that they're miracle workers. I'm upstairs. I'm going to do this wreath. And it was a big wreath. It was bigger than I'd ever done before, because I do lots of wreaths every year, decorate them and give them away or put them all over the house, because I love the lights of everything. So I'm working on this wreath, and I'm using an industrial glue gun, and the glue gun blew up in my hands, just exploded. And so it's stuck. I'm trying to stop the wreath from falling on me, and the glue gun too. And I put both my hands up on the wreath to stop it, and they glued to the wreath. And now the hot glue is streaming down my body, and I'm screaming, but I really wasn't. I thought I was screaming, and I'm praying, God, send me Brooke. And I'm passed out. And just as I was passing out, Brooke caught me, and he sees what's happening. So he unsticks my hands to the wreath, from the wreath. And I said, and he grabs me and puts me into cold water. And I screamed, go get the patches. And so he runs downstairs and he's getting the patches. He comes up and he patches me. Well, you can tell that because you really patch me.
Yeah, Linda was screaming and hollering, and I had her run her hands under the cold water, and I ran down and got a pack of X39s, and I came back upstairs. And I don't know what made me do that. It was just, I'd never heard of anything like this before. But she had those great big white blisters all over her both hands. And I took patches and I put on each blister. And when I got the last patch on there, Linda had been crying, and she looks up at me and she'd stop crying. She says, the pain is gone, Brooke, the pain's gone. So the patches stayed on for about a day and a half, and they started coming off, and I replaced them all. Now, when they came off the third day, Linda didn't have a scar on her hands. It looked like nothing had ever happened. And she's, like I said, she's a nurse. She's dealt with burn victims before. She had 3rd-degree burns all over her hands
And body.
Yep. And the patches, it's like a absolute miracle. Her hands soft as they ever were. There was no scar, no blister, nothing ever peeled off. Nothing. How did that happen? It was
So,
truly,
Linda,
truly a
Linda
miracle.
and Brooke, will you at this point, I mean, I quite honestly, I'm hearing it for the second time and I'm still speechless, really. Can you segue into the part where the knife fell on your foot?
Into the part what? I'm sorry.
The part, Linda, where the knife fell on your foot?
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
that's the next thing.
Yes, good.
That's the second thing that happened.
I'd been opening some packages on the counter, and I left a knife lay there. Well, then I walked away, and Linda, she was trying to open her. She was messing with, and that knife fell off the counter and into her foot, right behind her toe.
I can't see you, honey.
Yep. And she let out a scream, and then she said, Brooke, go get the patches. And I came running over there, and I looked, I was gonna, no, don't take it out. Get the patches. I went, got an X39. I says, well, we got to clean that. No, don't clean that up. She says, pull the knife out and put a patch on it. And I did. And the blood went to squirt up, and I stuck it back on, and it stopped. And she was sore for a while, but she wore that patch. What was it? How long?
Oh, not even a week, but it went through my foot to the floor. So it was stuck and standing straight up. And I knew it had gotten an artery because the artery was right there. And so that's why I didn't want him to pull the knife out till he had the patch in his hand, because the blood was going to squirt like a fountain, which it did. And so he wanted to clean it. I went, we can't clean it. Let's patch it. And he did.
Then wrapped her foot up.
And then that wasn't the last of that. And this is all within 15 days. The hands, the foot, and now this. So Brooke is so protective of me, and he doesn't want me cleaning house or doing anything. And I am a fanatic. So here I am trying to clean house behind his back, and I was hurrying before he caught me. So I'm running in there with the broom, and I lift up a rug, and I'm cleaning under the rug, but I forgot to put the rug down. Now I'm crippled because my foot is still in bandages from this knife stab. So I ran around the counter and fell, tripped over the rugs, fell flat. I have pictures of these broken knees on both my kneecaps, and the bones just popped out. And I'll show you the pictures at conference. They popped out, and now I don't know what I'm going to do. We have company coming in 10 days. I have this foot, these hands, and now my knees. God, you're really going to have to pull some miracles off here. So Brooke got me into bed, patched those knees, and then we iced over the patches, and then we just kept that up.
And that's what her doctor advised her to do, instead of going to a hospital with all this COVID stuff that's going around, with Linda being so susceptible with her allergy. She's allergic to everything.
So my doctor's my friend, so that helps. And she doctors me over the phone, and so does my Oxford doctor. So the knees were probably the hardest to heal. I'm still patching them, but for the past few weeks, I haven't had any pain from them. There's one more thing I didn't tell you that happened, and that just happened a few months ago. I was starting up the stairs and I slipped on a paper bag and I fell backwards off the stairs, breaking again my wrist. My shoulder was dislocated. My hip, whatever was wrong with it, I don't know. I hit my head. I was a total mess. So we patched again, put me in the bed, no doctors. And in just a few days, you couldn't even tell it had happened.
Am I
I don't think
correct?
people-
Am I correct to assume, Linda and Brooke, that all these healings, these astounding healings you're describing, happened with just the X39 patch? Am I correct?
But at the time, we didn't even know about the other patches. Eventually, through Nan and Jean, we found out about some of them, and I was off work for a little while and I did a bunch of research myself. Linda was busy working all the time, and I found out about some of these other patches that I had no idea about because the miracles we saw with the X39. But since then, we found out about how valuable the Lifewave patch is for arthritis, and I'm very fortunate. I'm 77 years old, but I feel like I'm in pretty good shape, and God really has been good to me that way. But every once in a while, I'll at the end of the day, I'll be in my recliner and I'll get these terrible leg cramps starting to, and they're painful and they're awful. So one night I had them, and I after a couple hours, I thought, well, I'll go to bed and see if I can go to sleep. I laid there for another 2 hours, and I remembered Linda using the Lifewave for her arthritis. I got up and come in here and I put the white patch on the bottom of my right foot and I put the brown patch on the bottom of my left foot, and it stopped immediately. I mean, it didn't go on for another 5 minutes or anything like that. It stopped the minute I put that patch on there. And it's happened like 3 or 4 times since then over the course of the year. And every time it's the same thing. When I put those patches on there, it just stops.
And Brooke, you had also a very unusual and difficult skin condition that healed. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I can't say it's absolutely healed. I thought it was. I've had a condition called
Ethiopia.
Oh my gosh. What
Ethiopia.
No. Not Ethiopia. That's a country.
Oh, well, something like
Oh my gosh. What's when I was a child, like five years old or so, my mom would, when I'd come in from playing, she'd put me in a bathtub and scrub me with a brush until I literally bled on my legs and my arms. And ichthyosis is what it was. And it's a hereditary disease passed down by every other generation or something like that, usually males. Well, my mom finally took me to a doctor, and he looked and he told my mom what it was. And oh my gosh, she grabbed me and started crying and bawling and apologizing for scrubbing me till I bled. But it's bothered me my whole life. And the thing that helps a lot is sunshine, vitamin D. But I've always had, it's a scaly skin condition, and certain parts of the body is worse than others. And it's actually been called a fish scale disease. Well, I started taking, I wear the X39 and now the X49 every day. And what I noticed was all of a sudden the skin that was always like sandpaper is just smooth and nice now. And I went and told everybody that it cured it. Well, that didn't quite cure it. When winter came around and I wasn't being able to get out in the sun like I had been, I noticed some of it come back a little bit, but it's summertime again, and those patches, my skin just is smooth like it's never been in my whole life.
And that's a real serious dermatological condition, because it's really like 22 disorders in one. You know, it's not an easy one to treat. So if you're seeing improvements already, imagine what might develop as you continue to use the patches, especially the X39. So
yes, and you know, I finally found a lotion that seemed to soothe it a little bit. It didn't make it go away; it just soothed it a little bit. But the combination now of that lotion and the patches and the sunshine really does. Linda's commented on it too. It's really improved conditions for me. And another thing that I had problems with for a long time was sleeping, and I think I explained to you a week ago that Linda was counseling one of her patients or clients, and she's a doctor. And at the end of the session, they were just kind of shooting the breeze a little bit, and she asked Linda how she's doing, and Linda said, "I just had the darnest time sleeping." And she says, "Well, are you taking anything for it?" And she says, "Well, my daughter recommended I take children's Benadryl." And so she says, and that doctor came unglued. She said that, she says, "Don't take another drop of that. Haven't you heard anything about it?" And there were 2 ingredients in there that she said are terrible, that they short circuit the brain, cause dementia, Alzheimer's. And Linda had noticed after her operation, and they'd even noted it, that the anesthesiology, the what they used for the operation might give her short-term memory loss for a while. Well, she'd experienced that, but then it kept on going on, and she was really getting concerned about it. Well, this doctor told her about it, and so I started looking the ingredients up. This in my PMs also, and Linda talked me into trying to get some sleep, and the PMs helped some. So we were both pretty concerned about it, and we tried the silent nights, and I sleep 8 hours a day now like a baby, and Linda's sleeping better now too. And these doggone patches have just completely changed our life around. It's given us life, and especially it's given me my Linda back.
Your testimonials are really honestly incredible. Julian says, "Oh my gosh, Linda is really testing out the patches." And I was thinking the same thing. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what else could possibly happen for you to have reasons to use these patches? And then Julian also asked, has Brooke experienced glutathione and SP6 yet for his skin condition?
Well, I haven't really done either one of those. We have friends that I've recommended the SP6 for. That, well, come to find out, we had a friend that was really concerned about his diabetes. So I went upstream a little bit, and I asked Gene Weaver if he knew anybody that knew anything about it. And he said, "Brooke, I've got type 2 diabetes." And he says, "I've been using the SP6 patch." And he says, "My blood sugar count, I think he said it went from the high 600s down to like the 186s or something." And then another guy he knew went from 800 and some odd count down, and from using insulin down to not having to use insulin anymore. Now, the glucagon is something that Linda's really been using, because she has had to take some meds in the past, and now she's cutting them out of her, where she doesn't use them anymore, and she uses the glucagon to get to cleans. I haven't got around to using that much. One patch that I thought was interesting is the energy patches. You know, we were working 10 hours a day and sitting in front of a computer all that time, doing the same things over and over and over. And, you know, you'd have a cup of coffee and a snack about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning, and your head starts nodding, you know, and you just try like heck to stay awake till lunchtime. And so I thought I'd try the energy patches. And the first day I tried them, I was really disappointed. I didn't notice a darn thing. So I remember people saying, don't go by and try them again. Next day I put them on, I didn't yawn all day long for 10 hours. It's just amazing. And people give up on these patches before they give them a chance. And especially the X39, you know, it's working on you all the time and you don't realize it. I think I told you the story about opening that package out in the garage. You know, I had another tool and they had it in that plastic. He couldn't unwrap it. So I had my box cutter and I sliced through it, and I sliced through these 2 fingers right here to the bone, and it was bleeding like crazy. And I just wrapped it up and come on in. I didn't want Linda to see it because she when I told her about it, she wanted me to go get stitches, and I wasn't going to do that. So about 2 days later, that gauze bandage was looking pretty rugged, and I took it off, and there wasn't even a scar. Not even a scar. And you know,
And what patch is it that you use, Brooke?
all I was using at that time was just the X39 on the back of my neck. And like I said, now I use the X39 and the X49, and I've heard a lot of people say they don't see any real difference. But it's like Dave Schmidt said, sometimes it takes up to 3 months. And what I noticed was having to tell myself it's time to quit and come in and start thinking about going to bed. I think, and same way with Linda, I think the energy and stuff that you feel, you didn't feel it before, but you can't really nail it down and say it. But it has to be the combination of patches.
So how are you at this time, Linda? Would you say you are feeling on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best, after all these really horrific, very challenging life experiences? Where would you say you are on a scale of 1 to 10?
About 8.5.
Wow. And I
And
remember
that's pretty good.
yeah,
But you
I
see-
remember you telling me that you had even gotten to a point where you started to write goodbye letters to Brooke and to your children.
I did.
What happened with Linda was she was such a fireball before the accident. I'd come home from work, I'd catch her, she'd have the phone on, and she'd be a headset, she'd be counseling one of her clients, she'd be painting a painting and cooking dinner all at one time. I mean, that's just, and she was like an off-on switch.
Well, and what you also overlooked saying earlier when you said you found 10 Christmas trees, that was really Linda slacking, because in the past she would put
Yes.
30 Christmas trees in the
Yes.
house, floating in the showers.
Yes.
Yeah,
So you were really slacking that year.
Yeah.
but for that turnaround, and that was right around August 2 years ago, that turnaround was so incredible. And to see Linda the way she is now and how much fun she's got, that sense of humor back, she's got that sparkle in her eye, and she's got that smile, and she never uses any makeup. That's what gets me. And I think it helps.
Have lipstick.
Yeah.
Can't go without my lipstick.
I want to open it up to questions now to the other members. Anybody have any questions of Linda or Brooke at this time? Please go ahead. Remember to unmute yourself before you ask any questions.
May I say one more thing
You
that
bet.
he kind of left out? My favorite patch is the Ice Wave.
Okay. We all seem to have favorites. I know mine is X39 and glutathione. I just absolutely love those 2 patches. They're just remarkable. But the SP6 as well, you know, it targets directly that hypothalamus and pituitary, the endocrine system. I really, really, really like using that. And I personally feel benefits with the patches almost immediately as well. So if anybody has questions of Linda or Brooke, please go ahead and answer now. Julian, no, Jane was wondering, Brooke, if you mentioned that you were using some lotions on your face, but was one of them the aloe vera lotion at all?
No, but I'll tell you something funny. For some reason, I'll be drawn to a webinar once in a while. I don't watch them all, but for some reason I've been drawn to some really particular ones. And it was funny the other night. And this must have been about a month ago, Linda?
I don't know.
It was I'd been out in the pool all day, or working around the pool and out in the pool, and I was about beat red. And I came in that night, and David Schmidt was talking about Elvida. And I listened to some pretty amazing things just about the Elvida lotion. But one of the things he said is that it was good for sunburn. So here I was, I had this burning sensation I'm sitting in my chair, and I got this burning sensation across my shoulders. So I go in, grab Linda's Elvida, and the burn just went away like that. And instead of peeling or anything like that, I wore that lotion for 2 or 3 days, and everything was just fine. But it took that burn, that pain away from the sunburn.
Well, you two definitely have had some really incredible results with the patches, very definitive results with the patches.
Well, it makes you wonder, we both thank God for everything. And it almost makes you wonder if we were pointed in that direction. And I'll never be able to thank Nan enough for those first 3 patches.
Oh, me either.
They have completely.
I saved my letters. I'm sorry. I haven't had to use them.
Well, so Nan really was your lifesaver, wasn't she? Truly.
She was.
Yep. And to hear David Schmidt talk about it, it's amazing to hear him say he didn't do it, God did it. And that just puts that much more into it as far as I'm concerned. It just proves that they're good, that they're good for people.
Well, and
Can I say something? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Nan. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I have to tell you, I cry when they tell me that I saved their life. But in the beginning, I kept going, oh, Linda, it's the patches, but I've known, like Linda, said, for quite a few years, almost 20, 25. And I will tell you, she was a ball of fire.
All the time.
Unbelievable. Now, when I called her about the patches to see if maybe I was making the right decision about doing another network marketing company, kind of thing. And then she said, send me those patches, because of the RA. And when she called me and said, oh my God, I knew that my question was answered just from her. If everyone can feel that way, so soon we'd all be millionaires.
That's one thing about it too, I think, is Linda is super sensitive with all her allergies, and that's the reason she's able to do what she does spiritually. And because of that, I think you see almost instantaneous reaction to the patches, where now the X39, when it comes to pain, I don't think people realize what a incredible patch that is. I went to the dentist about 6 months ago, and I had a tooth extracted, and it's all Novocaine. So I'm thinking, I'm going to see what happens. So as soon as I got home, I put an X39 right there, and the Novocaine finally wore off, where you could drink coffee without spilling it down the front of you, Mm-hmm. And I took that patch off, and the pain started. I put the patch back on, it went away. Now, you hear them doing that with the horses, with the ice a Lifewave or whatever it is. But it happens with human beings too. You know, you bang your elbow or something, or you cut yourself and you put that patch on there, and the next thing you know, you're healed up.
Amazing.
And you know, I think you guys recommended last time. Linda said something about she's had this eye was bothering her, so she put those patches on that night, and it helped a lot.
That was Dr. Terry.
Yep, that's right. And
Was it carnosine? Did you put carnosine on?
Yes.
it made a big difference right away.
Remarkable, remarkable patch for eye health. Yep.
I could see the next day, and that was part of the problem in the accident. It took the vision out of I couldn't see out of my right eye, just a blur, a constant blur. And I'm seeing now.
Yeah. Keep using the carnosine. Put one on each temple, very close to your eyes. It will improve your eyesight incredibly, just absolutely incredibly. They've been amazing. Yeah.
And we have a friend that was taking, I forgot what her problem was. I mean, I don't know the medical term, but having to take injections in her eye like every month.
Yes.
Probably
And so we told her
macular
about the,
degeneration, I suppose. Probably
Yeah,
macular degeneration.
and we told her
Yes,
about
it was.
the patches, and she doesn't have to do that anymore.
Mhm.
And I think I told you one evening I was sitting there and I noticed my my phone light up, and it was one of our friends that she was writing me, and Brooke, I'm having an asthma attack. I haven't had one for a long time, but she says, what I can't find the instructions to my patches. So I called her and she couldn't even talk. And I said, don't talk. Just sit down, breathe through your nose, and just take it easy. I'll call you right back. So I ran in, I fired up my computer, and I looked and I saw where she'd been a preferred customer and what patches she'd received as a sample. And I went to online, and I plugged in Lifewave patches for asthma, and this thing came up right away, and it said put an Aeon patch where you put the sleep patch. Put an Aeon patch right behind your ear, and it'll go away in about 5 minutes. So I called her back, and she couldn't talk, and I says, go find the blue package that says Aeon. And I told her what to do, and I said, don't talk, just go do it. And stick that patch, feel around, do you feel that soft spot behind your ear, and put that patch on there. About 5 minutes later, she called me back, and she sounded like nothing was wrong. And she says, oh my gosh, Brooke, she says, I don't think I could have made it to the hospital. And she says, I don't think I would have been here if I called an ambulance. And she says, it's like nothing had ever happened now.
Wow. Well, I think you're leaving us all speechless, really, one testimonial after another. And I mean, some very serious health conditions that you've been discussing and describing to all of us, and many of them, not just one or two, but many of them. And the vibrancy in your faces is there, and it's apparent to us. So we know that the healings have been there and are authentic and genuine. Because the color of the skin, as I always say to people, the color and the appearance of the skin is really not superficial. It's an indication of what's really happening in your body, and your skin looks very healthy. Both of you, even for you, Brooke, your skin looks both very healthy, which gives us an indication of how much healing really has taken place internally as well. Yeah.
I was out in the sun again today, bobbing around.
That helps. Any questions from anyone else? Okay, well, I've never seen anybody leave anybody speechless, because this is a pretty gabby group. So,
oh, we could tell more stories. We've got friends that have known Linda for years that have had problems pop up. None of us are getting any younger. And they would contact Linda, and she'd recommend which patches to use. And there's people that were bedridden, and if they got out of bed, they'd be on walkers. And and their kids didn't want them around their grandkids anymore because she couldn't go anywhere or do anything. And the other day I went to call her and I couldn't get a hold of her all day long. And finally I did. And I says, "Where have you been?" She said, "Oh, I've been down by the swimming pool all day." And she goes places now. She goes shopping. She does all kinds of things. She wasn't doing that before.
So you see, everybody's paying it forward, really, is what we're doing. And as we see healings in ourselves, you cannot help but tell everyone else about the incredible results of these patches. And as Julian said, thank you for the share. That was absolutely incredible. And we tried to keep our session to an hour, and we're at the end of that hour at this point. Linda and—
Oh, can I say something, please?
Yes, please, go ahead, Hajia.
Yes, Doctor, thank you for giving me this opportunity. It's not a question, but I personally, I feel so passionate and so emotional when I hear presentations like this. And one of the things, if you notice, I came in late because I was called into a group of people just to present the patches. And when you hear stories like this and you tell people, they are like, is it true? Can it be true? Is it real? Can it do that, just this patch? So to see two people, two grown-up, mature people, like we always say, to say things like this, it's just take my breath. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you guys so much for taking this time to really prove that these patches are working. We are here to help a lot of people. And when you people use it and come back to tell your stories like this, it helps 1 or 2 or 3 people. Awesome. That's just all I have to say.
And Hajia is very sincere. Hajia's been with Lifewave for a month, and this weekend she made managers. So hey to go.
Whoa,
Yeah.
Well, God bless
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
she's a rising star. Very proud of her. Yeah.
Could I say one more thing, Dr. Terry? Because
You
this
bet.
is something we left out. When I had my last physical, I was only given 4 years to live. And because I have 20%, I had 20% of my lungs left. 4 years to live. And my doctor said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "Absolutely nothing. When God wants me, he will take me." And I heard a message from God, and God said to me, "I am sending you something." And that's when Nan came back into the picture of my life. And that is, I know, what kept me alive. Because, and then after talking to you, I've started doing other things to my lungs. And I am feeling, I can breathe into the little machine now to 1200, and I couldn't get it up to 5.
Not only that, but we've been married 13, almost 14 years now. And every year until recently, Linda's had pneumonia 2 or 3 times a year. The doctors all know she's got walking pneumonia, and she knows when she's got it, and she's usually sick and on antibiotics. Since we've been on the patches, we know right exactly where to put the X39. They never could find it because it's in the upper nodes of her lungs. And when they would x-ray, they wouldn't even find it until she's in the hospital, and they'd find it with an MRI or something. But she knows right where to put them.
Hours up, honey.
Hours up. I put them on there, and she's just been, it's just a miracle that she doesn't have to put up with that every year. Oh, it's,
And really, Linda, because of your high sensitivity to medications, especially, you're a perfect candidate. The non-transdermal component is also what drew me to the patches, the non-transdermal part that nothing goes into your body. And so you're a perfect match for the patches, and it certainly has proven useful to you. And again, I thank you sincerely, both of you. I give you my blessings and good wishes to stay in good health. And we'll see you all next week. I love you all. Bye now.
We love you too. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Love you, Dr. Tara. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
No.